Dear listeners, before we start today's episode, I bring you some sad news. We had some technical problems whilst recording, and whilst most of the recording remains intact, and there's no easy way to say this, we lost the Unveil the Ale segment. Now, I would hate for anyone to think that we did this sober, so I can tell you that this week's ale was Virtuous by Kirkstall Brewery. I can't remember the exact link to the film. It's just a lovely beer. And, as is usual, because we record these Mashflix episodes remotely, I was forced to drink all 3 cans. I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy it too.
This is Mashflix Chill, a podcast where we mash 2 films together and talk about a resulting hybrid movie. I'm Simon, and as usual, I'm joined by my good friend Carl, and we're delighted to have with us our 3rd ever guest who has suggested our 3rd ever mash. That's right, people, we're now a trilogy. Our guest is the host of the fantastic Neverending Watchlist podcast. He's also a published author of the novel Refracture, all the way from down the M1. It's Damon Carter. Hi, Damon. How's it going today?
All good, all good. I'm really looking forward to this. This has been a mash that I didn't know I needed to do. I didn't know much about your podcast until, how long we've been talking now? 2 or 3 months ago, I think it is.
Yeah, a few months now, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is an interesting idea. And then with a podcast I'm doing, it just kind of naturally fit with what we're doing.
Caught you at a good time, didn't we, with your schedule?
I know. Because we did Joker last year on our podcast, and it was something I was aware of in terms of the influences for it. And then just doing Taxi Driver, and then you got in touch saying, "Oh, do you want to do the Mashflix?" And I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, this could work perfectly for me to try and bring these 3 films together." So yeah, genuinely, really, really excited. Thank you for the opportunity, to be honest.
No, brilliant. Thank you for joining us. And I guess just so the listeners can get to know you a little, if they aren't already familiar with your work, can you give us a little bit of a background about your movie fandom? Tell us a bit about the Neverending Watchlist podcast, what it's all about, how it works.
Yeah, it was, it's like anything. We conceived it as an idea. We wanted to talk movies. Me, Alex and Cam, we are massive film fans. We were like film students, like back in the day, went to university in Aberystwyth, studied film. And it's just an itch we've always wanted to scratch. And obviously, as time's gone on, I listened to lots of film podcasts, and I just sort of coined the idea, why don't we do this? And the idea for the Neverending Watchlist was more just everyone now. Like, it's not like back in the day when, you just knew some good films. You go to to Blockbuster or whatever. Now everything's online. And I don't know about you two, but I've got like a watch list that will outlive me because it's so like ridiculous. And we just thought, well, let's turn that into a bit of a concept. Why don't we start a podcast where we watch movies, we do deep dives, and we decide whether they go on the watch list or not forever. And we do top 5, so then we can kind of build our watch list up a little bit more, because obviously doing deep dives takes a lot of time, as you guys know. And then we also get guests on as well, like on Far, Far Away Films, and they add a film on. I think the last count, we're up to 171 films now that we've added. And it's just a nice journey, really, just to talk. And there's obviously, the good thing is they never stop making films. So, it looks like we'll be doing this forever.
That is right, yeah. 171, that is about what my Letterboxd watch list is at the moment.
Yeah.
I was listening to Kieran B on the Best Picture cast just before earlier today. He was saying he has a rule that, he'll take a recommendation, but only 1 recommendation per person. So to sort of control the stuff that gets put on his list, I quite like that, because I'm a sucker for someone going like, "Oh, have you seen this? It's really good." And you're like, "Oh, I'll add it straight on the watch list, okay?" And then it just builds up. It's like, when am I going to watch this? I need an incentive. I need like a theme or something that's going to drive me to do it.
133 on my watch list, apparently.
100, that's not bad.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's doable, Carl. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, right.
You're not that bad. What's your sort of watch numbers a week then, Damon? What sort of numbers are you watching a week?
Yeah, we were just talking about our good friend Andrew Corns. Love the guy. He's amazing, and he's an absolute machine because he's doing like his Oscar revision, and the amount of movies Andrew watches compared to myself is embarrassing, if I'm totally honest. I'm kind of 4 to 5 films a week kind of guy if I'm on a good roll. And then if I've maybe got a bit of time off work and stuff, I can probably fire out one a day. But I try and focus on quality over quantity. That's my rule. But I mean, if you look at some of the films I've watched, I wouldn't necessarily say I keep to that. Like, I watched, Back in Action, Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx the other day. And
you need the light and shade though.
Exactly, yeah. So I couldn't just watch serious, pretentious stuff all the time. There does need to be something. But yeah, 4 to 5 films, I think, is about my limit.
Sometimes you can feel guilty about rewatching films just for fun.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, I haven't got time for that. I need to watch the new films. I need to watch something new and discover some more things and keep up with what's coming out and all of that sort of thing. So
I'm all about, I think what we should do more of, it's like, I always compare it to music where you don't just listen to new music all the time. We tend to go and listen to our favorite songs, or at least a batch of our favorite songs. And I know it's different. A song's like 4 or 5 minutes, a movie's like 2 hours. So it's a different concept. But I do feel my rule, it's a small rule, is if you've watched 4 films in a row where you've just got nothing out of, you should immediately watch a film you like. I try and adopt that rule. I'm not perfect by any means, but I think rewatching the classics, I think what the danger is, we've all got streaming sites, like so many of them, and you've got like thousands of films, and it does feel like, I need to watch more. Like, well, I don't know, you're never going to watch them all. Why don't you just watch some of the goods, like the new ones, and then make sure you keep watching your favorites as well again.
Yeah, I think that's a really good philosophy. Actually, it's one I might try and take up myself as well. Look at the last 4 that you've watched. If there's nothing in there that's given you the joy, then go back to the well and recharge on a favorite. I like it. Speaking of Letterboxd, you're a Letterboxd user. What is on your top 4 Letterboxd?
So I use Letterboxd a little bit differently to everyone else in that respect. So I'm going to do a politician's answer on this one. The Letterboxd that we've got, you'll notice, are the 4 films we've got on are basically the 4 films that we've all 3 of us, when we do a vote at the end of the deep dives, those are the ones that we've voted onto the watch list. I do think, again, labouring the point a bit, that we shouldn't be married to our top 4 so that defines us as cinephiles or whatever. I think we should always be thinking, no, I'm going to change like what my top 4 is, or at least add another one in there. I don't think it's healthy to only have 4. Like, I think you should have, for films, for me, I think you need up to about 20 of your favorites that you should continually be arguing with yourself about which ones are your favorite. But I'm not answering your question at all, am I? I'm just dancing around. Like, so
I'm happy to listen to 20 of your favorites if you want to do that.
I'll give you some of the obscure ones that no one else would probably have in my top 20. So I'll give you and just because I can kind of say this and everyone will go, what? I'm going to put RoboCop like in my top 20. And because no one gives that film enough credit, go back and watch it. It is one of the tightest scripts you'll ever see. Honestly, everything happens for a reason. It's such a good film, RoboCop. It's so much better than a film that's called RoboCop has the right to be. Like, that, a genuine 10 out of 10 for me. And I'll give you, it's not recency bias because it's about 10 years, but I think Whiplash is a film I continually go back to so many times.
That is on my 4.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's such a good film. Like, to be fair, that's not an out there answer at all. I would imagine that's one of the most favourite movies of this century.
It's one of the highest rated films on Letterboxd.
I'm talking nonsense there.
So we've done an episode on Whiplash because Carl, not a fan.
Oh no,
Carl, not a fan.
No, I hate Whiplash. Don't listen to the episode though. I do not articulate that well at all.
We did one last year as well. Funny, there's a lot of synergy between our podcasts. I've noticed this. Like, you've done quite a few different similar things to what we've done. So yeah, I'll go back and listen. I didn't realize you're doing a Whiplash one. I'll go back and listen to that.
Oh Christ!
And I'll come at Carl later.
It's not the finest moment, but yeah. Good stuff. All right. So I'm not sure if I've actually spoken to an author of a novel before, Damon, as well. So and I have to say that when I read your book recently, Refracture, available on Amazon, and I assume some good and evil bookstores as well somewhere, who knows. I was really delighted by it. So I kind of knew you were coming on, knew you wrote a book. I was like, I'm gonna read it. I was like, you never know what you're going to expect, but I was so pleased. I was so happy to have read it. Read it on holiday, blasted through it in just like 2-3 days,
brilliant.
if that. And yeah, I thought it was great. But I have no idea. How do you write a book around actual life? Because you have, commitments, a job, family. How is this possible?
Funnily enough, I just started properly writing it at the very end of 2019, start of 2020. So the world kind of stopped then. So I had a bit more time to kind of get on with it. The enthusiasm to want to get it written, I think that was the main thing. I had a story in mind. It'd been sort of rolling around my head for quite a long time, and it just got to a point where I thought that story needs to live outside of my head now and be. It's almost quite cathartic when you've got an idea and you can conceptualize it and then get it out there, regardless of whether it does well or not. I think the success for me was getting it there, and it's available for people to read. And I honestly, Simon, I really appreciate you, the words you said there, because it does make a difference when you've poured your heart and soul into something for, just the odd nice comment here and there, and people enjoying it, which is great to hear, and I genuinely really appreciate it.
No, it was great. I mean, I was completely prepared to just claim ignorance that you'd ever written a book when you came on if it was awful and just not even recognize it. But yeah, didn't need to do that in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much for your kind words.
All right, so let's move on to The Mash, the two movies that are mixing together to make our hybrid movie today. And Damon, I'll just ask you just to introduce what that mashup is. We've alluded to it already, but just for clarity, what are the two films mixed together and what is it making today?
Okay, so we're going to mash up Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, with Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy to make, obviously, and everyone I said this to, they got that the outcome was going to be Joker.
All right, well, we're going to go through each of the two mashed films and we will reveal where we each sit on the simple 5-point scale that we have. So just as a reminder, you either really like it, you're ambivalent, you don't like it, or you really don't like it. All right, and we'll start with Taxi Driver. And Carl, over to you.
I think I might really like this one. I do. I think it's a great film. The only reason I I think I might really like it. It's not the easiest watch in the world, but it is a great film. I think it's easy to get hung up on how this looks and sounds because it's iconic the way it looks and sounds. But I think you can forget that it's more than that. I think it's really smart how the storytelling is in that film, and I think the ending is so great because we very nearly get one ending and the film would treat him a certain way. And instead, we almost get the exact opposite ending and it's all down to simple circumstance. I think it's a great ending. So, yeah, I'm going to go with I really like Taxi Driver. Beyond the aesthetic, I honestly don't see a lot of Taxi Driver in Joker. I think the aesthetic side of it is undeniable. But beyond that, I am not overly sold.
Interesting. All right, Damon, over to you. Where does it sit on the simple 5-point scale, and how do you think it fits in with The Mash?
I really like it. I'll go an even step further and say I think it's a masterpiece. Ooh. I think it's arguably Scorsese's finest work, and yeah, there's just something that resonates about it with me, and I think it still stands the test of time of being a very important film. I think I know what Carl means in terms of and where it fits into The Mash. I just think the spirit of Taxi Driver, the feeling of isolation, being an outsider, the loneliness, a lot of things like talking to yourself, like imagining things happening. There's a lot of similar themes that are running through, and I do believe that Taxi Driver directly influenced Todd Phillips, and I think Joaquin Phoenix to a degree, his performance as Arthur Fleck. But I think there is connective tissue there. But I know what Carl means. It's not like the clearest thing to see.
So myself, this is going to be suicide, but I'm ambivalent. I'm ambivalent about Taxi Driver, right? Ooh. And this is one of those, and just as a bit of history for those that are new to the podcast, I do struggle sometimes with these big classic things, and I don't know if it's sometimes weight of expectation or what it is. Had the same with Apocalypse Now, where a similarly sort of not the easiest film to watch necessarily, where actually I didn't like it on first watch. I watched it again. I liked it a bit more, but I wasn't all the way there. Then we did an episode about it, talked about it, researched around it, and I turned that into a like and actually become much more interested and passionate about the film through doing that. I can see Taxi Driver being very similar to that. So although it's a bit of a cinephile crime to say that I'm ambivalent on Taxi Driver, as Damon says, it's kind of lauded as a bit of a masterpiece. It's only the second or third time I've watched it. I admired quite a bit of it. I appreciated it a lot. I'm not sure I'm right there to say that I like it just yet. It's one of those that I'll probably give a very good rating to, but pretty low on the old rewatchability scale at the moment. But we'll talk about it a bit more today. Got a feeling we'll probably do a bit of a deeper dive into it on a future episode as well, similar to what Damon is doing on the Neverending Watchlist. And it may be through that process that might come up. Who knows? Maybe it will root me in the ambivalence. Who knows? But in terms of how it fits, now similar to what you said, Damon, it's quite well documented, I guess, the influence of on Joker in terms of Phillips is what he said has influenced it. So I was actually expecting Taxi Driver to do quite a lot of the heavy lifting here towards this mashup, but actually having watched the other film, King of Comedy, and Joker, very close together with this, I actually think maybe it's not doing quite as much of the heavy lifting, certainly from plot quite as much, and from tone. There are definite aspects to it and touch points that we'll get into in more detail, but I'm actually skewing a little bit more towards King of Comedy here, more than what I was expecting. And speaking of the King of Comedy, Damon, where does this fit on the simple 5-point scale for you?
Okay, so prior to us deciding on doing this mash, I'd only seen it once, and do you know when you try and search your memory banks to figure out when you'd watched it? I think I watched it around 2010, give or take a few years here and there. I can't remember. So we're going back 15 years, maybe more, maybe a bit less. And I remember at the time going, that was interesting. A really different Robert De Niro performance. I watched it last week. It was sticking on. This is a common thing with me that I get really wound up with when we do our show is you try and watch a movie, go, it's on Amazon Prime or it's on Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever. Then you go to watch it and it's disappeared because they've only got the rights to it for so long. So I sat down last week to go, I'll sit and watch it. It's been on Disney Plus for about 6 months. Sat down, wasn't there. So I ended up finding it on Rakuten ad-free, not ad-free, I like to watch it with ads.
Same, yeah.
It always, I think when you've got ads on something, one, it makes you remind you of being a kid because that's what we had to put it with all the time on like ITV or Channel 4 or whatever. And I always think the test of a good film when you have to watch it with ads is you're still there. Even the theme tune of a washing powder advert ruining the ambience of the film still makes me want to watch it. So a long-winded answer to your question is I like King of Comedy, and I've got a feeling with a few more watches I could even get up to really like. Mm-hmm. I think De Niro's performance in it, I know we'll talk about this a bit more later on, was the most alarmingly it was like a blind spot for me. I hadn't realized how unbelievable he acts in The King of Comedy, and when you stack it up against all his roles over his career, it really stands out as a real different swing of a performance. And I urge every Robert De Niro fan to, if they haven't seen The King of Comedy, they're not a Robert De Niro fan because you have to watch that film.
Yeah, I mean, similar. I'll go first, Carl, and then you can close us out. This was a first watch for me. This is one that had been on my list of like, I should really do this, trying to get through all the Scorsese. I've not watched all of them, and this was one of them that had kind of fallen off. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it was both sort of an entertaining watch and that interesting character study. And I totally agree with you in terms of De Niro's performance. It's not really like anything I've ever seen him do before. And weirdly, it seems odd to say that it's one of the more forgotten Scorsese films, as much as any Scorsese films are forgotten, and also one of the more forgotten De Niro films. Maybe it's not one that certainly gets talked about in what I listen to too often. It's so competently made, as you would expect. As you'd also expect with Scorsese, it's difficult to call out any particular failings or specific parts that I didn't necessarily like. I also didn't find it a particularly challenging watch. It's quite accessible considering the kind of material that it is. And yeah, watching it as part of this mash, I think there's the plot in particular. There's heavy sort of links to Joker. The aesthetic less so, even though it's set in the same kind of 80s period. It's a different kind of aesthetic of the city base. But yeah, I definitely like it. I was quite surprised that I liked it as much as I did. How about you, Carl?
I really like this one. Just on De Niro, you can forget just how good he is. I think, like you're alluding to there, Damon. I recently rewatched The Deer Hunter for the first time since I was like 18, 19 or something. And he's absolutely phenomenal in that film. It's a seriously good acting performance. And I think you can kind of forget that, yeah, he's a movie star and he's done all sorts of films and massive films, but he is a really good actor. And it's a super performance in this. His character is lazy, lies, he gaslights, he's manipulative, but he's also disarmingly affable. Yes. And that makes him a really fascinating character. It makes him a really dangerous character. And again, I love the ending with this film. I love he's getting arrested. He knows he's going to jail. He does not give a fuck. His energy at that point is just like, job done, mate. I'm bulletproof. And it's brilliant. It's glorious how vindicated he feels.
He's so cocksure, isn't he? Like it's almost like it's weird. He's cocksure, but you can tell he inwardly doubts himself, but he outwardly doesn't project that to anyone. Like he's got such balls for the stuff he's doing. I don't know if it's
right. He's so honest from the outset of that final act, exactly what he's doing, why he's doing it to the FBI, police, whoever it is that's talking to him, whatever. He's just, no, this is why I'm doing it. Yeah, but you'll go, I know, but I'll get on the show, and that's what I want.
Did you guys feel, just a side note, like I was looking at some of the stuff, really made me laugh in The King of Comedy. Like genuinely, I was surprised how hard I was laughing at some of the stuff. It was reminding me of characters like David Brent and Alan Partridge, Michael Scott, like these. And I'm not saying they're exactly the same. Obviously, those are characters in their own right.
Complete lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, there's an awkwardness that he's that lack of. Like he's not aware. Like when he's sitting around the waiting area for Jerry, and Jerry's clearly not going to turn up.
Yeah,
but he just sits there, and the lady's being nice and polite, and still, and it's the sort of thing you can imagine David Brent or Michael Scott just sticking around too long. Like take the hint. Like you're not getting anywhere today. Like overstays his welcome.
Yeah, no, he's a brilliant character. I mean, in terms of the mashup, Simon, as you've said, like the plot devices and the framework of the plot are almost a direct lift. I do have like some thoughts on how it's different in terms of not necessarily the themes, but how it tells its story. I think it goes about its business differently, and I think that makes it land differently. But for me, this one is very, very, very Joker. There's so much of the King of Comedy in Joker, and of course, we shouldn't gloss over the fact that Jerry Langford, Murray, and Robert De Niro have that direct homage to the film.
So shared DNA for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the featured movie of today, The Mash, The Hybrid, and it is Joker. So, interestingly, this is one that we covered last year back in season 2, almost 14 months ago, I think it is, by the time this is released. It's also been subject to the deep dive on Neverending Watchlist as well, so interested that we've both kind of covered this in detail previously. Now, we'll get into our overall impressions of Joker, where it sits on the simple 5-point scale, but because this is part of our Movie the Needle episode, where the premise of that is that we go in with differing opinions and we try and change the opinions of. So Carl, I'm going to start with you, because you initially came into Joker for that episode as I don't like, and I managed to move you up to an ambivalent. Not much of a move, but, you know, to be Damon, try and move him on anything is an achievement. So, you know, even that little flicker I was dancing in the streets.
You performed very well on that episode, Simon. Yeah, sorry, were you going somewhere with that?
No, just wait. Never. Just where is it on your 5-point scale now after this rewatch and subsequent prep for this episode?
I don't like it. I don't want you to think that I haven't gone on any sort of journey with this. The fact that I've ended up back at don't like. I promise you there are reasons. But we'll get to that in a minute. I don't like it.
Damon, what about you? Where's Joker sit on your 5-point scale?
I'm going to go for like it, but I think it's important to say that it's a difficult film to love, and I would be surprised at anyone that loves this film because it's
part of the problem.
It's an ugly film in many ways, and for a lot of reasons. But I think, and this is why I wanted to do the mashup. Like, once again, thanks for letting me do this, because I think there's a lot to be said for these three films and how the influences have clearly been taken from by Todd Phillips from Scorsese's work, and he's created this. And obviously there's a lot more. You guys have covered it. We've covered it about how a comic book character has been kind of used to market the idea of this film. Now, if this film was, you take away the Joker element and you just have he's not Joker. He's just call it clown. Like, it's not even about any. It's not even set in Gotham. It's just called Clown, for argument's sake. Stupid title, but you know what I mean. Like it's a totally different thing. That I don't think it makes $1 billion at the box office because people then aren't going to see, oh, where's the Batman links and where's all that. But I think the fact that they've used that idea of here's a comic book character to portray the ideas of nihilism and what that means in today's society, but kind of making it, if you notice, it's set about 1982, 1981 or something. It's literally just after Taxi Driver and King of Comedy's timeline. So that's why I kind of, in my head, I wanted to use it as this mashup, because I think Todd Phillips thinks he's making a continuation of that story. Now, I know it's Gotham. It's clearly New York City because, the way it all looks, but I do think there's some really interesting conversations that this causes. Yeah, I like it as a film and as a cinephile. I like it. I love the performance, and I think it's a film that's opened up some interesting conversations that people don't like. But I think that's what a film should do. It should be provocative. It should ask us some questions as an audience. It's certainly not one of those films that you just casually watch. You're either in or you're out, I think.
Yeah. Some really good points. We'll be exploring those in more detail once we talk production, plot, and cast for sure. So I really like it, which is not to say that I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I think it is quite cleverly made, and I enjoyed rewatching it again. It wasn't a chore to rewatch, even though, as you say, Damon, it's not necessarily a film that you can love. The problem is, now that I've seen The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver so close together with this, have I previously been giving Todd Phillips too much credit for what he's put on screen here? And now, having watched Joker 2, Folie à Deux, is that an even bigger question that I need to answer as part of that? I mean, you've said it, fitting the story and character study in the guise of a kind of superhero or supervillain origin story of sorts, or at least that was how it was sold when it's been marketed, and hence the $1 billion, as you say. It's very savvy. It's a very savvy move for sure. And I realise it's probably quite nonsensical to be cooler on the two original movies of a like and an ambivalent for the one that have so clearly influenced this one. And especially one that probably could be accused of being a dumbed down, light version of both of those as well. Although The King of Comedy is quite simplistic and Taxi Driver is less accessible to me, I think, Joker, I really got on with it. It had a level of, for me, accessible complexity, which I don't know if that makes any sense. And it has those opportunity for those conversations, like you say, Damon, that you can have a good chat and see different perspectives, and it leaves some room for maneuver in terms of interpretation.
Let me pick up on a couple of things you said there, Si, because it's a good jumping off point for me to sort of take you through my journey with this film before we go into the film itself in detail. So the first couple of times I watched this, I thought the same thing. So the first time I just watched it independently. The second time I watched it for when we did our episode, I rewatched it. I never got beyond man goes crazy. I think the social commentary in this film is pretty weak. I don't have the comic book angle. I'm not interested in that at all. So I don't really care about the sort of Joker origin story side of it. Now, on that episode, you made a couple of observations and you gave me sort of some stuff to unpack and explore for the next rewatch, right? Hence the sort of the move up to, maybe you're right. Maybe there's something else. Maybe it is deeper than I'm giving it credit for. Preparation for this, I rewatched Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. By the way, can we just call that TKOC?
TKOC, yeah, why not? Yeah, it's quite a mouthful. Whereas TKOC, that's not a mouthful, is it?
Yeah, TKOC. Yeah, TKOC. That fits in the mouth easy. Yeah. So yeah, I rewatched Taxi Driver and TKOC. And sort of similar to what you just said, Si, I am struck by just how much better those two are. Then when I come to rewatch Joker, I am once again left puzzled as to why so many people love this, right? And on that puzzlement, I'm really looking forward to the plot section today because I do think this movie is too easy to get wrong. And I think at least part of that is because it's not as good as people say it is. I think we'd be remiss as well to not just discuss Joker 2 a little bit, which incidentally, for my money, is a better film than Joker. I think Joker 2, for reasons that we'll get into, actually has something to say where Joker perhaps does not. But Joker 2 does also retcon some of Joker because of the sort of backlash to how Joker was sort of consumed by audiences and in Todd Phillips' eyes, incorrectly, right? And I think that, like, specifically on the MASH element, and again, this probably relates to plot. For me, Joker's weak on its social commentary. I find that audiences are doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, which is fine. That's part of enjoying a movie, right? But should the film get credit for that? Like, I'm not convinced. There's a fundamental difference between how Joker tells its story compared to how Taxi Driver and TKOC tell theirs. And I think in that is rooted how good these films are, even if they are ultimately exploring the same sort of themes.
Good stuff. All right, then. Well, let's crack on straight to the production then. And I've got a few points of which to bring up. But, Damon, I'm going to let you go first as the guest. Anything you particularly want to call out with production of Joker, and in particular, I guess, where there is a crossover or influence particularly called out from either of our two mashed films?
The way, I have to admit, the way it looks, I like the way it's been shot. I think there's something to be said for the stylized version of this. The way it's been shot, I think that the staircase sequence, for instance, which I think I had a lot to say on that on our podcast, but removing the meaning behind it and the musical choices that were put on that. I think that's a superbly rewatchable, just aesthetically pleasing shot to watch, and I think it's become so iconic. Maybe Carl potentially wrongly interpreted, but those steps in New York City now are almost unaccessible because they're so popular with people trying to catch like selfies and go, oh, these are the Joker steps. They're actually called the Joker steps now. And just in general, like obviously it's Gotham. I've said this earlier. I think New York City does a bit of the heavy lifting on this, as it does in Taxi Driver, not so much in King of Comedy, but it's almost like a character on its own. It's you'll notice there's like garbage bags everywhere, rubbish bags, as we could say. That's because it's kind of following on from that angle of the garbage men striking like they did in New York back in the 70s. Funnily enough, they are in England at the moment in Birmingham. I think that's still going on. Like, not relevant, but it's just something for us to sort of think about over this way. But like, I think that style of the city, of the feel of it, I do feel that's an interesting Gotham. There's only one part I think that it kind of looks a bit like the Christopher Nolan's bit is when they're on the train and the train is kind of leading up to the city, and I think they use that direct reference. I'm sure that shot is virtually the same in Batman Begins,
where you get the cityscape.
Yeah, which I think Chicago more than New York. I could be wrong.
And there's also when he's in the car and he's looking out of the window. That is a very, very Christopher Nolan shot. Ironically, it's also the most Taxi Driver shot in the movie, because we see the streetlights and the headlamps reflecting on the window, which is Taxi Driver's chock full of those shots. But yeah, there aren't many, but there are a couple of nods to Nolan in this film.
But other than that, it's like in terms of the production, like there's not. How can I put it? There's not many grandiose kind of set pieces or city shots in general. I mean, there's some good shots. Like it looks good of the bits that are in there, but I don't think it's necessarily something I would say is the most fantastically looking thing ever. Like I just think it's what it's done is done very well. You know, I'm kind of erring on the side. I think that it's a simpler movie than Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Probably in terms of production, not a million miles off. I think there's some connecting tissue there between them all. Carrying it from around New York City, all three films are New York, aren't they? You know, regardless of whether we say they're Gotham or not. I think that to me does a lot of the heavy lifting for that, the production in terms of what's connecting them all. Personally, I think it's got a lot going for it, but I don't think it's fantastical. I think there's some clever shots, exactly like you said, Carl. I think there's some interesting nods to the Nolan trilogy, but I don't think Todd Phillips is interested in being associated with the Nolan trilogy too.
No. I don't think he's interested in us associating with comic books in general, but I'll come on to that maybe more in plot.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the use of CGI in Joker, I think, is impressively done to, I think I used the term shitify New York digitally. So it's done in a very effective and quite subtle way. And I think that's probably why the budget's only 55 million, because it's not full of huge set pieces and CGI heavy stuff. Folie à Deux somehow cost 190 million or something crazy, like only 4 times the amount. I'm not really sure where they spent the money on that one.
No, but part of that is we earned that. We deserve a big budget for this film because of how well the other one did.
Craft services were like
that's
absolutely amazing.
Like, fillet steak.
Yeah,
every meal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is definitely New York, and again, not to touch on the is he making an origin story or not, but it's definitely New York. We sort of kicked this idea around, and I think, Damon, you guys came outright and said it. This is New York, and this could be Fleck. It doesn't need to be a film about Joker. So I think it is very deliberately New York. It's very deliberately going for that same shitty look that New York has in Taxi Driver, very successfully. I'll say, though, that Joker is flatter and greyer than Taxi Driver. Not so much the indoors.
It's washed out, right?
It's more desaturated, yeah. And I did check. It is shot on film. It's not digital. And I sort of maybe wondered, is it the whole streetlight thing? Because obviously these days we've got like the LED bright white streetlights. We don't have the warm incandescent ones that they would have had when they shooting Taxi Driver. Or maybe it's just a choice. Maybe they were leaning even more into the desolate sort of bleak greyness of things. So no, look, from the mashup, Taxi Driver is a massive inspiration to the aesthetic. And I think the aesthetic, it sounds weird to say it's pretty great because it looks shit, but it's pretty well done. Right?
Well, it captures that city that it needed to be in 1976. And I think we discussed it on our podcast that we think it and it kind of has been confirmed by Scorsese. He shot that to feel like a horror movie. And in some of the way he moves his camera and some of the way he off-centers the camera is almost a bit of a playful tool in Taxi Driver. I wouldn't go that far with Joker. I don't think that there's some nice elements in Joker, I think, where they choose some nice sort of match cuts, like between, for instance, when he's, say, bending over the sink after encountering Thomas Wayne, and then it cuts exactly the same shot into his apartment. So they're giving you that feeling of, is it in his head, or is he, or is he just happens to be in the same position? And I think whereas in Taxi Driver, you've got movements with cameras like directly up, revealing the mohawk in a really interesting way. The famous corridor scene where he goes away from Travis. There's some really deliberate and interesting moves. And I don't think, I would say, I don't think Todd Phillips even thinks he's anywhere near Martin Scorsese, who is like, Martin Scorsese's like one of the greatest. But I think I don't want to kick Todd Phillips for trying to pay homage to one of America's greatest film directors and making a kind of a version of that film, of those films in a new guise, in a world where comic book movies are now awash in the market. I really like what Todd Phillips does with that idea. We could have got another shit DC movie, but he decided to go, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remind everyone how great Martin Scorsese is and what the films he made. And I'm going to try my best to add a bit of a flavour of that going forward.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit now then, because that's a good point. Without actually getting into how that affects the plot and all the rest of it, I think he's been pretty clear in interviews. He's been pretty transparent in terms of saying he doesn't have an interest in making an origin film. This was literally a way to get a real film made that's going to get the marketing that comic book films get and therefore get the box office that films get. I think he gives an interview where he says he was looking at, he'd done War Dogs, and he said War Dogs was going up against I think it was a Marvel film, which he refuses to name which one it was. And he was looking and going, we are not in the same, we're not running the same race. I don't have a chance. This film is not going to be as successful as that comic book film. And then there's another interview where he says he was joking to Phoenix and saying, let's just make a real movie. We'll put it out under the guise of a comic book movie and we'll call it fucking Joker. Right. So I think he's been pretty transparent about he's gaming the system to get his movie made and get the backing from the studio and the marketing. And that's brilliant. Well, well done him. And we should recognise that this is then, therefore, an original movie, and it's not just another one in the canon of comic book movies. But I also think it's important to recognise the bit in that he's not actually interested in making an origin movie. Like that's a message which is important for me in that story.
Yeah. I mean, from what you've both been saying there, and both referencing Scorsese, it did get me thinking. It's possibly an impossible hypothetical question to answer, but if Scorsese had done this and it wasn't a Joker film, but it was just this film about that character in that, and Scorsese had done it in that year, what would the reaction be? Because then it would be a Scorsese film.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Then it would
go in with the expectations. Would it get that backing? Would it get the sort of people on side already? And it may probably wouldn't do $1 billion, right? But it would give it legitimacy, and it would go, oh yeah, it's referencing these two earlier films, and you can see, and oh yeah, building up, because Scorsese loves that, right? He's basically lived off that with his more recent gangster type films, right? Where it's basically just watered down versions of previous ones. What would the reaction have been like if that had happened?
I mean, I don't know how audiences are going to take to that, and we can never really answer that, right? Because this film has got a few different cohorts, I would say, in its audience. One of which Phillips himself says got the wrong idea, which we'll talk about later. But in terms of getting off the ground and getting the studio back in and getting the market in, that's just another way in terms of the name, the Scorsese. He would get an opportunity that Todd Phillips simply would not be afforded, which is why Todd Phillips has had to go down the route of going, fuck it, let's dress it up as a comic book movie, and we'll get it out like that.
Well, I think you're right, but I think it's probably worth saying it's not. I don't think he was given the film because I think he pitched it as that idea, but they knew full well, the studios, look, we can get a film called Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix, who's a reasonably well-known, very talented actor, for $55 million. It's called Joker. It's going to make money. And then Todd Phillips savvily, when I think there's some social commentary, I know you've got issues with that, Carl, definitely. I know where you're coming from. I think there's some social commentary we can use to make this a more powerful movie than a throwaway comic book origin story, which you're right. I also agree that he has his cake and he eats it. And I'm probably not going to talk too much about Joker Folie à Deux because I think he kind of retcons all the stuff he did in the first movie.
Yeah,
he
does.
And I don't think that was a wise move personally, because I think you could probably rewrite I'm trying to just take Joker on as it is, which is difficult because his sequel directly references what everyone thinks about the first movie, which is interesting as well. But I just think I'd rather see a film like Joker that's a comic book movie that's got something to say, even if it's something we disagree with, rather than a throwaway piece of popcorn fodder that's not going to stay around for very long. Now,
and that's exactly where I was, Damon, when I first watched it, right? Because I'm quite into the comic book films, less so now than when I originally with the original MCU building up to Infinity War and Endgame and stuff. But that was the thing where it wasn't just a shite DC outing where it's there's a Snyderverse stuff and all of that. It was something you go like, oh yeah, no, this is a bit different. I like this. There's a bit more going on. It's not just big explosions and big muscly men punching each other. There was that was a big attraction for first watching it. So I think 100% right.
Well, I agree with that as well. By the way, I might not like this film, but I have no interest in comic book films. I've seen this film 3 times. Well, actually more than 3 times because I rewatched it in segments about another 2 times this week as well. So, I'm completely on board for he's gamed the system. Fair play to him. I would rather have movies like this than more IP comic book movies, all that crap.
It's far more interesting to have films that we love or get angry about than films that just pass a Friday night that we never talk about ever again. Yeah. And I think that's way more interesting now. The problem with Joker is it's upset a lot of people. I don't want to say it necessarily upset you, Carl. We don't sound like you've upset. And obviously, Simon, you have a lot of love for it as well. My big conflict with the film with Joker, and it comes down to the sequel, is they promised this is the start of something, and then the sequel goes in a completely different direction. And now it makes me go back on. And I do, like I said, I like Joker, but when you look at what came after it, it didn't pay off what I think could have been a really interesting start of a comic book story. Didn't have to do that, but again, the cake and eating it argument comes up again for me. And I do think that's why it's not as, when you ask me the scale of where I like these films, it would sit under Taxi Driver and King of Comedy for me. Because I think those 2 films are way more well-rounded, whereas this one, there's a lot more baggage, I think, around Joker to try and unpack.
And the thing is as well, because he has retconned it, if Joker had gone down how he thought it should have done, and then he made his sequel following on from that, we'll never know what that is now. Because it's all gone sort of wrong from his point of view, and he's gone, no, people have got the wrong message, right? Fuck you. Now Joker 2 is like this. And not only does that stop where Joker might have gone, it also does change Joker a little bit, as you say. And it's like,
yeah. And I think he had 2 options, right? You make that a standalone film, Joker, a standalone on its own, and it could stand up on its own. It wouldn't need a sequel. You could say that, and then you can take that in your mind of how that it goes from that to the Batman that you kind of know and story and how that could go. Or you make a proper follow-on and you kind of complete the story. And you could still complete the story in the way that you kind of did, or continue the story in the way that you did in the second one, or how it ends at least, just without all of the other stuff. He's gone a third way, which is to essentially, retcon, commentate on his own film and the old reaction to the film, which is quite meta in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's the least satisfying choice of the 3, I think.
Well, hang on though. You say that. I don't. Because the popularity for Joker is never going away now. That's a $1 billion movie. People are not going to cool on that to any massive degree in the future. I don't think. I think that's going to keep its popularity. What is going to happen? I think that Folie à Deux is going to grow in popularity over the years, because most of the backlash to that is, that wasn't what I was expecting. And I think it's going to find its audience over the years. To me, as somebody who didn't actually like Joker that much, but more to the point, doesn't think it's that great, and I can see why people misunderstood it. To me, Folie à Deux is actually a better film and a more satisfying film, because I think, well, okay, now we're at the stage. How we've got there is, weird and meta and all the rest of it. But now we're at the stage where he's actually making a film with something to say, and that's something I thought was missing in this film. So look, to you as fans of Joker, you're going to go, well, that's this third way is the most unsatisfying way. Not to me. I didn't like Joker. I mean, I don't really like Folie à Deux either, but I think it's better. I think it's got more to say, So
ironically,
I don't know.
I actually still think Folie à Deux is a decent film as well. But that's something. There's so much to unpack. It's not as simple as where it sits in terms of your enjoyment of it. There's so much more going on, and I feel like that a lot of it is, what do people make of it at the back of it, and these are both things you could label at the original films of the mashup as well, like so Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Less so with King of Comedy, but actually there's a lot of things. Do you know what? King of Comedy, I know we're not talking about that at the moment, but there's a lot of really interesting things to say that are very relevant about today's culture and about wanting to be seen and wanting your 15 minutes and thinking that you deserve that fame because you want it. And I think that's a really interesting bit of social commentary. And Taxi Driver also, and I think that's why I chose it for the mashup. I think the way Travis Bickle, he attacks his problems, or he faces them, or he decides to change the world, if you want to go even more crazy with it, isn't the same as Arthur Fleck, but there are similar motivations there. There are, at least, I want to do something, I want to make a difference. I don't think Joker's as strong, in terms of its message, but like I said, Taxi Driver I think is a masterpiece. There's a thing with Taxi Driver where we discussed where the ending's really odd, but what's really interesting about the film is there are two ways Travis could have gone in that film. One ends up being the killer of a politician, which was influenced by an event that happened years prior to it. And you could even go as far as to the JFK assassination and all the other assassination attempts, and Abraham Lincoln, I suppose, of where ordinary people decide to off powerful people. Yeah. Or what he ends up doing is being a vigilante and saves a girl from a horrible situation. Yeah. Now, both things are not acceptable in normal society, but one is obviously more celebrated than the other. Joker goes really problematic because we try and kind of outwardly say the reason this, and I think what you're trying to allude to, Carl, I think I kind of agree with, but I think what I'm understanding more about my liking for Joker is from it's a cinephile point of view, which is, again, go back to being a bit pretentious about films. I think what I like about what he's done is he's kind of gone to a generation. Scorsese's movies from the 70s, the early 80s, whatever. Go back and watch these films. These were really important moments in time. I'm showing you this through the prism of the only bloody format that you guys will go out and watch a movie is if it's dressed up as a comic book film. And go and look at it like that. But I accept, Cole, I know you've not specifically said it, but I know what you mean. The reason the problems I've got are because of everyone else. I'm going to show you a better way. I'm going to shoot someone in front of the world, and I'm going to be championed as a hero. Now, obviously, you can't get any more blatant than a problematic message than that. But I don't think, I agree, Todd Phillips wasn't trying to say that, but it's very, he must have known it was going to ruffle some feathers. He knew full well this was going to piss off a lot of film critics. He knew he got a bit of gold there. Yeah,
the common theme between the two, though, as you say, is, and there are differences, but the common theme is someone feels alienated, and as a result of that, they are going to take some action. And in Taxi Driver, obviously, he flits from, he would have been called, a sort of a radical if he'd assassinated the politician, and instead it's a lauded vigilante. Yeah, which is really interesting. I love Taxi Driver for that. But yeah, you're right. There is that thread between them of alienated person lashes out as a result of that alienation.
And in King of Comedy, a little bit, from a comedic absurdist way, he lashes out to try and get noticed in a kind of a friendly lashing out, almost ish, kind of it's really the absurdist way of saying the same sort of thing sometimes.
he's cheating. He's saying like that. He's saying in TKOC. Thank you. He's saying, look, the industry's broken. Like, I can't get a break. It's all, you know, how do you get in? It's all nepotism or this or that or the other. And he feels, you know, maligned by that. And so he goes, well, fuck it. I'm going to take matters into my own hand. I'll get on the air one way or the other. Don't you worry about it. And the great thing about King of Comedy with the ending is he's right. Because he cheats. He takes the shortcut. And what does society do? It rewards him. Not because he was good. Not because he put in the effort, as Jerry told him to. But because society loves notoriety above talent. And so it'll reward him for taking a shortcut.
Well, at least we don't see that reflected in any of the world's politicians or leaders these days.
Yeah. Indeed. Right, we have strayed way into plot there. So let's officially move on to the plot section now. All right, let's move to plot. So a few points. One, we've already just kind of touched on some of the similarities. And I think this is where there's definite alignment between the two films coming into Joker. So the first point I wanted to talk about was the descent into madness, you know, quote unquote madness. So this is where I think all three films have a part of in that. So Pupkin in TKOC, he's a fantasist, right? But he's a lot less overtly dangerous and disturbing than what Arthur ultimately becomes in Joker. Bickle, he's a loner central character, just like Arthur, who's dealing with some shit, PTSD, or which I'm assuming it's PTSD, versus whatever we want to say Arthur has. Bickle has that underlying simmering anger at the state of the world, the seediness of it, how it's all going to shit. Not so much his place in it, which is a bigger feature, I think, for Arthur in Joker, where he kind of feels cheated out of a role in this world. Taxi Driver, I think, has that similar mirroring of the deteriorating state of the city and the central character's mind, just as Joker kind of has. And the bit that I kind of saw as a direct comparison was the transformation in the final act in both Taxi Driver and Joker. So both of them, for their final act of violence, transform visually, you know, outwardly. Bickle with the Mohican and Joker with the full makeup and proper Joker outfit, which I found quite a nice little comparison theme there. What about you guys? What about in terms of the mental state of the characters in the three films? What do you see that is all aligned there or different?
Well, I totally agree that like, especially I said at the start with the mashup, like the plot, the framework of the plot is lifted straight from the King of Comedy. So in that regard, the character does go on the same journey that Pupkin goes on. And we have a plot device that they share as well, right? In that they both have delusions. I'm sort of like, why do I care more about what Travis Bickle's going through? Why is that more interesting to me? Why do I find what Pupkin's going through more interesting than Arthur Fleck? And it's the actual, it's the sort of the way that Joker tells the story compared to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, right? They are different fundamentally. Everything in Joker is from the point of view of Arthur. Everything. There isn't a scene that he isn't in. So this is his perspective on the world. And I think that comes across as a little didactic, I think, when it is making that commentary, and it is a very simplistic commentary at points. I know there's a bit more on the mental health side of things and the effect that cutting funding can have on individuals and all the rest of it. But a lot of the commentary is much more simple than that. We're just told, rich people are the problem, and that's it. And we just accept that as fact and move on. And it's because everything is from Arthur's point of view. We never get a chance to examine or decide if that's fair, and then therefore if Arthur's actions are justified as he does descend and lash out. Taxi Driver and the King Comedy both leave space because we keep a distance to the protagonists in both of those. We don't automatically root for them, and crucially, the film doesn't tell us to automatically root for them like Joker does. And again, of course, it automatically tells us to root for it because it's all Arthur's perspective. We see him like he's a literal punching bag and he's getting kicked around. And who could not feel sorry for him? We should, and we do. But we don't automatically root for the protagonist in Taxi Driver and King Comedy. We also see things happen that aren't from their perspective and happen to people around them, and we get that sort of thing. So there's space then in between those things happening for us to take a step back and go, oh, okay, what does all that mean? Am I going to root for this guy or not? Are his actions justified? And we don't have that. We do get that in Folie à Deux, because Folie à Deux moves on, and at that point there are some scenes where we start to see things not from Arthur's perspective, like the courtroom scene when Gary breaks down. We see how it affected him and his life, and actually we see that in Arthur as well. It resonates with him. I think, Damon, you guys made a really good point about, it might have even been you actually, about how looking in the mirror or something, and that's like shifting perspective. So we see that in Folie à Deux, and that allows us this space to sort of step back and go, I'm going to kind of make my own decision here. In Joker, I'm not sure. It feels very, very prescribed, and we're only ever going to feel one way about him because there's nowhere else to go in this film. We just see Arthur getting kicked around from pillar to post.
Both of you, I think, got really good points there. And I think, like, Simon, I think, like, I agree. I think for Taxi Driver and Joker, I think you're right. The descent into madness, I see that definitely happening within both of those films. Like, and I think that's where those two align quite similarly. Whereas, so Travis and Arthur's descent to madness, I think, is quite mirrored. Whereas I think Rupert Pupkin's, you could argue he goes into madness, I'd say, because, you know, what other person would kidnap like a star and try and elicit his demands that way? But it's almost like a weirdly motivated decision, like rather than
calculated.
Yeah, like it's kind of, he still weirdly has a plan, which, you know, is, you know, and obviously we can't just, that's just equally, you can't go around kidnapping celebrities to get your way. That's not a good message to send out either. But what I notice with, because Travis, I think you do see a lot of it from Travis's perspective, but I think the difference is the empathy. I think we probably, the films tries to get us to feel a lot more empathy for Arthur than Martin Scorsese tries to get us to feel for Bickle. Like, he kind of lets us make our own minds up. He messes up. We see the ugly side of him. We see the things he says. Travis is actually a racist character as well. Like, it's not, it's not, there is one comment he makes, which I won't repeat, but like there is one comment he makes, but I know Paul Schrader had said that he was initially written as a racist character, and Scorsese wisely said we can't go that far. Like the pimps were going to be of like African-American descent, and I think they changed that around so that it didn't have that lens, because he wanted to stay away from it being kind of like a racial plot point. Although if you think about it, Travis is, and there's another thing where Travis and Arthur match. So like Travis kills the guy, happens to be African American in the store. It's like the first thing he, like the proper violent act that he does. And Arthur's first violent thing he does is it's that he kills
the three rich
subways. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Which again, they're very.
It's pretty much self-defense, right? Yeah, he's getting kicked in.
The borderline one is that he chases the third guy down. That's the borderline one. Yeah. But it is only borderline. You're right. They're almost like, and it's the same in Taxi Driver. They're almost circumstantial acts of violence.
Yeah,
he's only beginning this descent at this point. He's not completely premeditated. I'm going to go out and do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, he's got a gun, right? He's started on the journey.
I want to do something. I'm not going to take this anymore. But
yeah,
and it's kind of. It's like it's trying to punch in the right direction in some ways, Joker, but it does it in a very odd way, because obviously you see the fantasy side of, like, it's weird, like Joker and Taxi Driver, they're both kind of playing around on their own characters with a gun, and weirdly, like Arthur is shooting himself. Like at the end of a lot of these pretend things, he shoots himself.
Yeah.
So you imagine that's what he's going on television to do, and obviously it goes a different way, and also Travis, you know, because obviously you got that direct reference with the gun against the, you know, that is literally like, you couldn't get any more. Just so you know, we're taking this from Taxi Driver. Like there's so many
good point.
visual cues. Like he's literally making it as blatant as he can. But like again, Travis, there's a conflict with the characters. I don't think Arthur's intelligent enough for us to think he has a plan. I think he is still the character that we should feel an element of sympathy for. I'm going to cut it short before like saying, you know, he still viciously kills people that he shouldn't do. That's just, you know, but at the same time, there's the world around him, I think, is trying to kind of push him into an arena. And I think he's almost just this directionless, I want to say simpleton to a degree, but obviously he's a product of the environment he's been given. So he's, you know, he's technically, maybe he's slightly brain damaged from incidents when he was a kid. So you could say that's the reason he is, although there is an argument to say that might not be the case. That could be argued that he's made that up. There's a lot of convenience in the films, but that's where I see those two bits going. One I haven't talked about, and I don't want to like go on forever, but the comedy element, when we go over to King of Comedy and Joker, that's where we see a lot more similarities, where we see Arthur really think, I'm a funny guy. I can make the world laugh. I can be a clown. I can make kids laugh. I'm a stand-up comedian. He's an awful stand-up comedian, like the cringeworthy.
The best he gets is the Bob Monkhouse rip-off line, right?
He does, yeah.
I'm not laughing now.
And that is really like one of the most cringing scenes. Yeah. Even watching it recently, it's not nice to watch a guy breaking down, like really trying hard and failing in front of everyone, and then being mocked by Murray.
I'm used to that every week on the podcast, so it's fine. And I think that's a good launching off point again into some other similarities, I guess, because there's that betrayal or rejection theme, I think, as well in all three, that triggers one way or another their journey for each of the characters. Now, in King of Comedy and TKOC and Joker, they're both looking up to that TV host, right? And they both get rejected in different ways. You know, in TKOC, Rupert, in his own fantasy thing, is best friends with him, goes to his house, and there's clear rejection there. He gets properly put in his place in front of his... How
patient is Jerry, though?
I know.
Like,
with the golf club in his hand.
Breaking his house, more or less, and he's just standing there disappointed. I'd be fuming. Like, this is a start.
That's great. Just as a sidetrack, I love that, because he's there with the golf club, right? So you're like, well, this could turn nasty pretty quick, right? And he doesn't. He's just like
stone-faced,
calm, stone-faced exterior, and basically just eventually just kicks him out firmly. But yeah, they both had that rejection from the TV host, because, you know, Arthur feels betrayed by his mother, by his father, or who he thinks was his father at the time, maybe, is humiliated by his substitute celebrity father figure in Murray, mocks him for the sake of entertainment, which then all of that sort of piles up, and eventually, you know, he goes too far. He crosses the line into unsympathy. Travis in Taxi Driver, he feels abandoned and betrayed, I think, by Betsy to a degree, which I think accelerates the wheels that were already in motion towards that act of violence. Probably primarily, actually, the politician side of things, and then that's kind of what motivates that bit. So I think they've all got that link to it of betrayal, rejection, or humiliation of some which accelerates it on. But I guess that is just a central sort of thing of any movie, right? There has to be some motivation or something which triggers and accelerates onto the final act in some way.
There was one point I was going to bring up as well, like going back to what you were saying, Carl, about like in terms of the interpretation of Arthur, in terms of like, I think it is too easy to kind of go, no, you know, he is a victim. He's totally justified in all his actions. Do you notice? This will be really sort of wanky film pretentious like nods here. Like, so after he obviously does this, it's all on screen, and everyone will see that on the TV on that one screen. Now, afterwards, what Todd Phillips does is he does this thing where Joker is Arthur Flex in the studio on his own, and he's kind of looking into the lens. Now, what he does, he pulls back and he takes us into the control room, and he shows several different screens, and they're all showing different bits of news footage and TV shows and whatnot. And I think there's this is where I get a bit sort of pretentious film student, but I think what he's trying to say there is you can see the world through that one lens. You can see the world of Arthur just shooting that guy, and so that's the one lens you're going to see it from. He's good, he's bad. That's the lens you'll see it from. And this is why I think it's quite a liberal film, but I think you're right, it does get interpreted in the wrong way. If he pulls back into that control room and say there are several different ways you can see a character, everything isn't black and white. And the problem with the world today is, and we go back to 2019, so the world's probably got even more of a toxic viewpoint now, is everyone wants to go, that's a good thing, that's a bad thing. Yeah. That's left, that's right. And I think this is what my interpretation is, why I think the films is I get why people think it's dangerous, and I get why people think it's, the masses have gone, we should take down the rich. We should, the people that are mocking the less fortunate. I don't obviously subscribe to that. I think what he's trying to say is, look, this is what happens when society fails people. This is what happens when we leave people behind and we don't listen, or we don't show sympathy, or we're stuck in our heads. Those different lenses in the control room are we're trying to say there are so many different ways to interpret a character. You can't just be black and white and say that he's a good guy for doing this and he's a bad guy for doing this. You have to unpack so much more. And that's me sticking up for Todd Phillips a bit. I'm trying to say, look, if you want to say as simple as this is good and this is bad, that's on you. I'm not saying that. And that's how I interpreted it anyway.
He did explicitly say he's not trying to make a film that's taking any sort of political stance, which obviously then feeds into this idea of, there are multiple ways of looking at this thing. I mean, I would say there's just not enough of that in the film. It doesn't bother me that I got the film wrong the first time round. So I said in our episode with Simon, it's just man goes crazy, and the film romanticizes or validates him at the end, and we've got this triumphant rise of the Joker, right? That doesn't bother me that exists. I don't find it particularly dangerous. I think that's it's a separate problem. But there are a couple of things with it. One of them is maybe not fair to kick the film with, because we've already spoke about this. I don't think the comic book element helps, specifically in the guise of, okay, we're supposed to feel for this guy, but then we are supposed to pull back from him when he does. But I don't think the comic book element helps there, because we are waiting. The point of this movie has been sold as an origin story, and so you're naturally going to go, I really feel for this guy at the start, and then the guy appears, the villain we've all been waiting for, the Joker, brilliant.
Well, it's not just a villain, though, is it? Because he's an anti-hero, really. The Joker, he's a very popular.
And it does feel like the film does that, leans into that, which is why I sort of defend people for going, it's okay that you went with him. Because just to clarify, I mean, people might not know, I don't think we've explicitly said it. Phillips says the point is not, he didn't think anybody would side with the Joker. The point is not to come out on the Joker's side.
Yeah,
you were supposed to recall from him.
Which I guess then you're also meant to see the fact that he becomes this de facto figurehead of a movement accidentally as kind of ridiculous and
or in the context of this film probably didn't happen. Now we know Joker 2 retcons that, which is part of the problem of then shitting all over the first movie, right?
Indeed.
Which again, Si, is a point you made really well on our podcast. Look, he's an unreliable narrator. That bit probably didn't happen. That bit's probably all in his head. And that's a reason for us to go, he didn't have a point. He is just a psycho. I'm going to pull back from it. But the origin story side of it does not help that. And it's too easy to carry on feeling for this guy. And again, I say it's a bit unfair maybe to give the movie a kick in for that, because as we've already discussed, actually he's had to game this. He's got to do this to get the character study film out there.
Yeah, and another difference, and one that really annoys me about Joker, is how little credit they give the audience for the fantasy aspect with Sophie, where they do a whole cutting of showing her not really there in these scenes. And you're just like, yeah, we get it.
Goes very Fight Club, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, but we get it. He's the fantasy. You didn't need to quite spell it out with it. And I know they spell it out in King of Comedy. There's no.
Well, there's cues, but they don't replay the scene.
No, they don't. But it's very obvious, right? It's
because usually it cuts to the real world scene, and you go, he's not really in the restaurant with Jerry.
The only thing that I wasn't sure what is with King of Comedy is at the end, like, was there really a book? Was there really all of that? Or was that all of a fantasy? Or is that just the commentary side of, or a societal commentary in terms of the fact that it's rewarding the anti-hero?
This may surprise you. I've got a hot take on this. Go on, Damon. You go first.
No, I'm curious to hear your hot take. I was just going to say I think I like the way all three films leave enough ambiguity. I think King of Comedy less so, but I think there is still ambiguity there because you do see him also sitting in a room on his own, pretending to be a talk show host, which is a lot more amusing than the other two movies in many ways. But yeah, I think there's enough there to kind of make the argument that a lot of this didn't happen. Even in Taxi Driver, a lot of that didn't happen, which is bine. I don't mind that. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I think that's okay for you to then interpret. I want to hear your hot take, Carl.
For me, the only things that didn't happen in King of Comedy, see, I can't say it, TKOC. the only things that didn't happen in TKOC are the ones we receive obvious visual clues for. Like I say, we see a delusion and then it'll cut to the reality. So we go, oh, okay, that's not really happening. Right. Everything else happened as is. And I think the idea that the ending is somehow ambiguous, did that happen, did it not? I think Scorsese meant to say, no, society does reward his notoriety, because the commentary there is, no, it's not about hard work, like Jerry says. It's not about talent. It is about just getting on and being notorious and all the rest of it. And I think there's a bit of revisionism around that that's occurred since, to which Scorsese himself has been a part of. I read a couple of things from him where he says, well, maybe. And it's like, you didn't mean that. You shot it as is. Some film buff afterwards has gone, oh, but what about this? And he's gone, if you like, yeah, great.
This is why whenever you listen to directors, I take it with a pinch of salt, because I think so much of it, they're like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll go with that. That sounds great. The only bit that I wasn't sure of, right, was his mother. Like, is she real? Because all you hear is just a voice, right? You just hear this. Yeah, and it's like a Tom and Jerry, like, Thomas, stop making that noise.
Again, I mean, I would take it to be literally, yes, she is, because we don't at any point see the corpse rotting in the wardrobe or something like that.
Imagine psycho cut of King of Comedy.
That should be the ending shot, like just the deceased mother in the.
Imagine that would have been a hell of an ending. Like, it's a great movie anyway, but that would have made everyone go, "Oh my god!" This is horrifying. Yeah. I do think as well, though, like with Joker, I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that it's called Joker, and King of Comedy. Obviously, there's the direct link there. They've been clever to leave off because then they can kind of go, well, we didn't say
it's not the Joker.
Yeah. And then when you get to the end of Joker Folie à Deux, that kind of pays off a bit. And maybe, I was going to say earlier, not that it really necessarily matters, I think there's a third film in there. I really do. Agreed. And I wonder if they're going to make it, and I wonder if they're going to try and connect it to some of the DC outputs that they're making now.
See, I'm torn between whether that is Phillips closing the book and going, no, that's it now, or whether it's like, no, that I'm done with it, but I'm leaving this. Someone else can take this if they want, and there's an easy in, and you can take this on.
Well, he might not get asked back after the box office for Folie à Deux.
True. Right, have we talked enough about plot? We've had lots of serious film conversation. I'm very unused to it. So I think it's time that we need to ruin it all with a stupid game. So it's that time of the episode where we pit Carl against our guest this week, and we test their movie knowledge in a game somewhat related to the movies covered in the episode. Now, this, as a warning, is a rip-off of the Nick Knowles-hosted lottery game Who Dares Wins. But it's legally different, and I've called it The Winner Takes It All. Carl, can you play the theme song? Bob De Niro acts in Scorsese's best flicks, though it's hurting me. Taxi Driver's just a 3. Joaquin has played his card, a joker. Todd Phillips laid a duh. Nothing more to say, except cast. Just this game to play. The winner takes it all. Will Carl be standing small? Damon with victory. Is that his destiny? There we go.
I mean, I think we finally. I think you're trying way too hard now. I think we finally crossed the line.
Yeah, I think he did the whole song. That's just a clip.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing.
Did you do that in the mirror?
I did play it to my wife, as I now do, just to check. Like, does it still sound like it's shit enough that I'm not trying hard? She was like,
it's getting really
spot,
close.
Yeah.
That vibrato in your voice there.
But anyway, so the game, the winner takes it all. I'm going to provide a category, and you're going to take it in turns to estimate how many of that category you can name. The highest bidder wins and has to name that number in the category. So if they list that number, then they win the point. If they fail to get that number or guess an incorrect answer, the other person wins that round. So, for example, if Carl bids 5, Damon bids 8, Carl trumps him with 9, and Damon then decides that he can't go to 10 and wants Carl to name those 9, Carl would have to name them. If he does, he gets the point. If he doesn't, Damon gets the point. Are we ready? Do you understand?
I think so.
I understand. I am not optimistic.
All right. Okay. So, a quick. I will get the guests can go first. That's nice. So the category for round 1 is Martin Scorsese movies. So this is Martin Scorsese directed feature-length movies from 1967 to 2023, not including documentaries. Damon, how many do you think you can name?
I'll start the bidding at a nice round 10.
Yeah, I think that's quite a high opening bid, actually. I mean, I should be able to do more than 10. But, the pressure's on. No, I mean, 11. Fucking hell.
Going for it.
Yeah. Going for 11. Damon, could you beat 11?
Yeah, I'll go 12.
12.
Yeah.
Carl?
I'm gonna bow out at that, I think.
All right, Damon, you have to name 12. Just so you know, there are 26 that you could possibly name.
All right,
away you
Alice
go.
Doesn't live here anymore.
It's on the list.
Streets.
It's on the list.
Taxi Driver.
It's on the list.
New York, New York.
It's on the list.
Got nervous then.
Yeah,
I was like, oh no. The King of Comedy.
The King of Comedy is on the list.
I watched it recently. Bringing Out the Dead.
Bringing Out the Dead is on the list.
How many have I got to get? 12.
12, yeah.
Oh,
12. How many have you got? Because I've stopped
6,
counting.
I think. Last Temptation of Christ. 7, I think.
It's on the list.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street is on the list.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, of course. Goodfellas.
Casino. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Does The Irishman count?
Does The Irishman count?
Is that a film? It is a film, isn't it?
Yeah,
The Irishman is on the list. That's number 12.
Yes. Do you know what? I don't have to think of it
You got it.
I think I'm
Silence.
Well, that's good. Lucky you went for 12 then.
You have Silence, The Departed.
It's Departed, of course.
Yeah, After
Cape
Hours,
Fear.
The Age of Innocence, The Aviator.
Yeah. Should have went.
Color of Money, Gangs of New York.
Yeah, there's loads.
Hugo.
Yeah.
Condon, never heard of it. I think you got quite a lot of that. Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. How did I forget Raging Bull? That's crazy.
Yeah. Silence, as Carl said there. Who's that knocking at my door? And then that's it, I think.
There you go.
So 1-0 to Damon. Well done. Okay, so Carl, you get to go first with your one for this one. Robert De Niro movies. So this is Robert De Niro movies where he appears in a credited role as actor, not as himself.
If you go any less than 3, I'll be very disappointed.
Oh no!
Please.
2.
I'm gonna go 10. 10 feels like a good opening gambit.
10, right? Okay, Damon.
Yeah, I'll go 11.
Yeah,
11,
12.
Carl.
Oh, he's going for it.
12.
13.
Yeah, 14.
Do I push it? No, I'm going to let you go.
Okay, Carl, name those 14.
I already hate it.
There are 94, by the way. Just
easy.
Yeah. Okay. The Godfather Part 2.
It's on the list.
Righteous Kill.
Classic. I love how that came second.
Yeah. Simon's trying to navigate this very long list. Heat.
Well, it's alphabetical to a degree, I think. Yeah. Yes, Heat is on the list. Some of them I'm going to know, so that's
The
fine.
Intern.
Oh,
wow. I mean, yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah, of course it's on the list. Cape Fear. Scorsese one.
You could just name Scorsese.
Casino.
Yep.
Goodfellas.
It's on the list.
All right, let's not get cocky because you can very, very easily end up down a mental block here. A Bronx Tale.
Bronx Tale is on the list.
Stardust.
Yeah, good one.
Nice. It's on the list. That's 9, I think. 9.
Is it 9? Oh,
yeah, I've got
10.
9.
Right, Stuart. It's only 9. It's fine. What's it called? Just saw it. The De Niro and Bogino one. The Irishman. Let's do The Irishman first. Let's box that off, shall we?
The Irishman is on the list.
Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon, of course.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
He's the big bad boss.
I can't find it on my list.
He's the big bad boss.
I mean, he's in it.
Yeah. Raging Bull. Taxi Driver. King of Comedy. Joker.
That's it.
Yeah.
I should have bet you out there.
You're there. Think
Untouchables. That was another one.
Yeah, Untouchables. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to list all 94.
There must have been some massive
Midnight Run.
ones I missed.
Midnight Run. You could have had. You could have had the Untouchables, as you've said.
I think the Intern would have come in there.
The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
There you go.
Analyse this. Analyse that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So it's 1-1.
Meet the fuckers.
On to round 3, and Damon, you get to go first for Joaquin Phoenix movies, where again he appears as an actor.
This is interesting because I can't remember the names of a lot of the films he's been in. I'll start with 6.
Yeah, no, you can do your 6. No chance.
Oh wow, okay. Oh, he's gone straight. Go on then, Damon. Name those 6.
Okay. Gladiator.
Gladiator is on the list.
Well, I can have Joker and Joker Folie à Deux. That gets me 2. Yeah.
You can, and you can.
Right. Is it called I'm Still Here?
I'm Still Here.
And there was also one he called something like, it's either You Were Never Really Here or I Was Never Really Here, something like that.
You're going to have to push you for which one you think it is.
I was never really here. I can't remember. I might be wrong. If it's not on there, I'll go for a different one. That's a great movie. I think it's a Lynn Ramsey film. I forget the exact.
I Was Never Really Here is not on the list. It's You Were Never Really Here.
Does that mean I lose?
You lose that one, I'm afraid, Damon. Do you want to have a quick run through, Carl?
Well, I would have gone for Her, Walk the Line. And then I think I'd have been out then.
You could have had To Die For, The Village.
Village, yeah.
Signs.
Parenthood.
He was in Parenthood, yes. Hotel Rwanda, apparently. Is that right?
Eddington, he's just been in that, hasn't he? That new film, Ari Aster movie.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Okay, so 2-1 to Carl then. Okay, here we go. We can start to get a bit more obscure here. So, movie titles that include that include a face card in a pack of cards, such as Queen, King, Prince, Jack, and I'm going to include Joker within that.
4.
4, okay.
I'll go 5.
Yeah, I could do 6.
Okay, 6, Damon.
Name them. Yeah, I'll go. I don't think I'd do very well on that.
6 then, Carl. Name
So
them.
we can have King Richard, the last King of Scotland.
You can. Yeah.
King Arthur.
Yep.
Then we can have Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher Never Go Back.
Oh.
And the King of Comedy. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
King of Comedy, that's 6. Well done. Yeah. So you could have gone down the King route, so King Kong. You could have gone for the Scorpion King, Kingsman, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You could have gone Joker Folie à Deux.
Joker?
You could have gone... Okay. Well, I did say it was included. You could have gone for Jack, so you could have gone for any Jack the Ripper films. There's lots of them. Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit.
Jack
yeah, see, I thought of that, but I couldn't remember whether that was a film or whether that was a Netflix show or an Amazon Prime show or something like that.
Yeah, you got Jack Frost, you got Jack and Jill, the brilliant Adam Sandler film, I think, isn't it? The Jack and Jill. So yeah, there we go. So it's 3-1 to Carl. He's got an unassailable lead, but we still do the 5th. Topic 5, movie actors with a first name or surname that is Robert or Roberts or derivatives thereof.
3, just to go low.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go 5.
Oh, he skipped one. So Roberts, or derivatives thereof.
Can that be in the second name or just in the third?
Yep, first name, second name. Yep.
How many did you go for, Carl?
5. I went for 5. Yeah.
5 he went for.
I'll go 6.
I mean, it could just be a cunt and keep pushing this up, really. Easy fact. Yeah, just name them.
Go on, Damon. Name your 6.
Okay, I'll go. Obviously, Robert De Niro.
Yep.
Robert Pattinson.
Yep.
Robert Duvall.
Oh,
yep.
Easy money.
Julia Roberts.
Yep.
Eric Roberts.
Yeah,
Eric Roberts. Yeah. One more.
Honestly, the mental block on these games is really something, isn't it?
it's the pressure.
It's really something.
Bob Balaban.
Yes. Very good, yes.
I would have gone Redford, by the way. I was internally screaming Redford.
You could have gone Redford, Robert Redford, yeah. Robert Carlyle, Robert Downey Jr. Okay, well done. So Damon claws one back to make it 3-2, but Carl takes the victory, so he takes it all.
Thank you very much. Well played.
Well done. All right, let's move on to the cast. And I think the best place to start is the main man himself, Joaquin Phoenix. I still can't spell his name first time. I've stopped correcting it. Gives my notes a nice little Joker-themed red line underneath it. But what do we think of the performance, Damon, of Joaquin?
Average. No, I'm joking.
That would be a hot take if you said it.
No one agrees.
Clip that up.
Yeah. He was well better in You Were Never Really Here, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, what is that called?
No. Is it I Was Never Really Here, or You Were
Never Really Here?
You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
Don't know why I keep getting that wrong. No, he is brilliant in this. He's got a childlike innocence, but a petulant kind of violence about him as well. Like it's a really odd display, and obviously that laugh that he comes out with is clearly a very physical piece of work that he's actually done to get that. And it actually, as he's doing it, you think to yourself, I don't know if you guys
painful,
have ever,
right?
Like if I like for a silly thing I do with my kids sometimes, I'll do the cough the laugh that leads to like a horrendous cough sort of thing. Like, and doing that, I'll do like a pretend laugh, and it actually hurts. Like when I'm doing it, and I'm thinking what he had to do to kind of get that throaty, chesty style kind of, and it's a few different laughs as well. He's not got the same laugh all throughout. It kind of like for different.
It evolves as he does, isn't it?
Yeah, I find him really uncomfortable when he does the laugh in the. Do you know when he's watching the stand-up show and he's like, it's like he's a second behind and in the wrong place. So he laughs at all the bits that aren't funny, or at least everyone else thinks aren't funny, and doesn't laugh when everyone else is laughing.
Yeah, he almost like reacts laughs, doesn't he? So like he just kind of follows on with a little bit of a looks at, and the little looks that he does sort of sideways of just kind of like, what?
The bit I love as well is when he does that joke, that sort of horrible joke on Gary about him being small, and he does a really over the top laugh, and he keeps it going as he walks around the corner, and then he just stops, and it's kind of like it goes from being ha and just down, like he was never laughing, and then you realise that he also puts his laughter on, as in the character, to try and fit in as well. So it's kind of like this is the contradiction with the character, and I think it kind of works into the whole thing. Is his laughter is both involuntary and very much voluntary, like, and that is the conflict of the character. It's kind of like, well, hang on a minute, like, it goes back to what we were saying. The whole thing is, what can we believe and what can't we believe with Arthur? And I think that's where his performance is really good, because he doesn't leave any stone unturned for you to question every action that the character is making. And I think that is the strength of his performance.
Yeah, I think it's a great performance, very much Oscar worthy. I mean, he is able, we've talked about generating that pathos. He is able to generate that pathos, but also, he is utterly convincing when he does slip over the edge, and, that unhinged, terrifying part of it is, very convincing. He's obviously gone full method with the whole apple a day, keeps the doctor away diet.
Did you like his run? The way he runs.
I love the run. Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
called
talked
that out
about
on our episode, didn't you?
I said like it's like one of the best sort of movie runs up there.
Top three, you
your
said.
Tom Cruise. I did. I can't remember what I said, which ones I put in there, but there was a Redford's run.
I
can't
pressed you for your top three because you said top three. I was like, well, then there must be a 1 and a 2. And your exact words were, of course, I wouldn't say top 3 if I didn't have a 1 and a 2. And then you proceeded to give me a 1 and a 2. You remember what they were?
Sure. No, of course not. Because as I said earlier, I flush after every single episode. I don't remember a thing I've said. So I can't be held accountable for what I'm saying. Tom Cruise, I said that one.
Yeah, Forrest Gump.
That was a good run. Forrest Gump is a fun.
That's what you said.
But then I watched when we did the last Mashflix episode with Robert Redford running around in The Sting. Great run. Excellent runner, Robert Redford. So yeah, if I had to do a top 5, now I just need a number 5 to round that list.
I've told you, the girl out of Taken.
I've still not seen Taken.
I mean, the first one's all right. I wouldn't waste your time with the second and third.
I put it alongside like films like the Blair Witch Project, where I'm just like, I haven't seen it. It's been so long now. There's no point seeing it because it's been ripped off and used so much that I've basically seen it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, I might not like this film. Joaquin Phoenix in this film is amazing, and he is something I've appreciated more with each rewatch. You almost can't imagine anyone else being capable of the performance. It is the full gamut. It's so nuanced at times. It's so pathetic at other times. It's so pretty brutal at other times. And actually, we do a bit of recasting, right? And on our episode, I'd said Paul Dano because Paul Dano is brilliant at doing the pathetic side of things.
Yeah, we can do the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can he do that menace that Phoenix does here? I'm not sure. It is a really rangy performance. He's absolutely amazing in this film. And I don't love Joaquin Phoenix generally. He's fantastic here.
Damon, have you got any thoughts on recasting? If it wasn't going to be Joaquin Phoenix, who could do something in this movie that he's kind of doing?
Do you know, it's a really interesting one because I think I would imagine you guys might agree, but like the Joker as a character in movie and TV history is probably one of the most sought after roles for actors. I think everyone wants to play the Joker, which kind of goes back into your point, Carl, about
how easy it is to root for them.
Exactly, yeah. So through the prism of that, like it's difficult. I think every actor would give it a good go. It's difficult not to look. I think the thing is, what's interesting is his age. Like, what age is he supposed to be? Like, and that kind of then in that, you know, because if you're saying he could be a bit younger, I could see a Chalamet giving this a really good like go. But if you're saying he could be a bit older than Joaquin Phoenix, then
I think he's meant to be like in his mid-40s, isn't he? In this,
mid-40s. I'll tell you what. Then I'll give you a recast, and just to really bend everyone's brain, Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He could
just to go. Well, hey, he played Batman. Let's get him to play Joker. Let's really mess it up.
Yeah, he wouldn't do it the same, but he would equally be able to do a version of this, right?
He'd go thinner than Joaquin Phoenix.
Nail the weight loss, wouldn't he?
Yeah, like Machinist.
What, that's all you're losing, Joaquin? Come on.
Yeah. Come at me when you've done something real. Yeah. Like, geez, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I didn't really think too much about that because I do think I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to recast him.
He's nailed it, hasn't he? And it's iconic.
100%.
Now, what about Robert De Niro? Obviously, he's the huge crossover through all these films. What do we think of Robert De Niro in Joker? Very much a supporting role in this.
It's just like paying tribute to him and having him in the movie without him being a main player. Yeah, he doesn't really get a lot to do. He's kind of more a figure. I wrestled with, is this Rupert Pupkin older? Like, I don't feel like it is, but I don't mind if people do think he is, if that makes sense, because I can get the parallels. You think, well, I'll tell you what, let's say The King of Comedy ends the way it says it does, and then 40 years later, this is who he becomes. Yeah, I could see that. Like, that's possible, but I still don't feel that is him.
He's too warm and fuzzy, though. He's got a warm and fuzzy part to him. This guy. He's also got a dark side. You know, he's got a bit of bit of a douchebag side.
He is a bit of a dick
to it as well. But he comes across as, he's got to be popular on the thing. I don't think that Rupert Pupkin, I don't think he'd be able to pull off being, over a longer period of time, being the actual host thing. He did that stand-up bit quite effectively, but could you imagine? I don't know, maybe I suppose he was doing it, he was practicing doing it all, wasn't it?
The thing is with this, though, it's not Rupert Pupkin. It's Rupert Pupkin in the eyes of Arthur Fleck, because this whole movie is that. So it kind of becomes a futile thought experiment, because whatever you think of Rupert Pupkin isn't, like, could it be, could it be not? It doesn't matter. It's what would Arthur see Pupkin as. And Arthur, possibly, would just see him as the guy on TV that he wants to emulate / replace, just like Rupert Pupkin did in King of Comedy.
The thing they probably don't do too much of in this is give you a reason why he wants to be like Murray. It's just because he's the guy on TV. He's the guy that everyone goes, "Oh, Murray, you're so great." Is that it? Like, I wondered, could they have maybe fleshed that out a little bit more? It's not a huge part of the story, and it doesn't need to be. But I don't get a feeling of why Murray is such an icon to Arthur, really.
I think it's two things. One, it's linked to his belief that he was put on this world to put a smile on everyone's face and make people laugh and stuff, and he sees he's the main man on TV doing that. And then two, I think he sees him as that father figure, right? He's basically been raised by a TV because his mother is a bag of shit. And he's been fantasizing about him having these interactions with him, and I think he kind of sees him as that father figure, which I think is why it's such a damaging loss when he sees himself being mocked and recognises that.
Well, the cynical answer is because that's what happens in King of Comedy, and that's what Joker's ripping off.
What about recasting, though? So I found this one quite tricky to even think.
I don't think, and this is perhaps by design, I don't think much of the supporting cast add anything to Joker. Also,
you've already called it out, Carl. I mean, it's very central.
Exactly.
So the supporting cast are very much peripheral, right?
Yeah.
They aren't even in the traditional sense of supporting. They are more just other people that are in this film.
So that might be a narrative thing because of that reason. It might just be because Joaquin Phoenix is so good in this movie. Like, how's anybody supposed to live with that when they've only got a bit part? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think he's amazing here. My recasting for this, when we did the original thing, and I sort of stand by it, is Bill Murray, because Bill Murray could be that affable talk show host thing. He's a bit of a dickhead as well, and he could sit there and take Arthur's actor part and be a bit prickly in the way he is.
What do you think, Damon? Is there anyone else you could see doing the role effectively for De Niro?
I think, to be fair, I don't, like you said earlier, there was 94 De Niro movies. I don't think this would get in his top 30 performances. No. Not that he's bad in this, he just doesn't get a lot to do. So I in terms of recasting him, I suppose you could have a bit of fun with it. And, I've mentioned him before, he's one of my favourite actors, but like Willem Dafoe, I think could always do something interesting with a character like this, but I wouldn't want to see Willem Dafoe get shot, so...
Willem Dafoe could do a Joker, by the way.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Because I was thinking the sort of lines, I was like, you could get Jay Leno in.
Jay Leno, yeah. Yeah, you could get some of the actual late night hosts in, Jimmy Kimmel, or someone being balanced there. I just said Trump and I just said Kimmel.
Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? They've gone after the meta version of that, because they could have. They are making an homage to King of Comedy. They could get whoever the current Jerry Lewis is. So they could go after, probably not Leno because he's retired, but like you say, Kimmel or whatever. But they've gone meta, haven't they? So they've gone, no, let's not do that. Let's get the guy from King of Comedy who was idolising to take the place of Langford. So they kind of have done that. They've just gone for the meta version of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the other signifier of them saying, look, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, this is what we're trying to point you guys towards. If it needs any more explaining, here's Robert De Niro.
It's not just a head nod. It's not a head nod. It's like what's firmer than a head nod? Just like a head thrashing.
Yeah.
They're just thrashing their head towards him.
And maybe Todd Phillips was trying to say something with like against Travis Bickle, and it's like Joker, like I say, killing Travis Bickle and Rupert Pupkin rolled into one. Maybe you could interpret it like that and pull the bones out of whatever that means. But maybe it doesn't mean anything, and it's just like you said, a bit of meta thing to go through. Yeah.
All right, let's crack through the remaining of the supporting. So Zazie Beetz as Sophie, decent.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Not
have.
really,
She's not.
is she?
She's not the Harley Quinn-esque love interest role that he's kind of imagining, right? In terms of the love of his life thing. Is there a bit of a comparison here with King of Comedy with that Sandra Bernhard character, Masha? Bit more of a double act. She's a bit more Harley Quinn, though, isn't she? She's
not Masha. No. I would go with the barmaid. What's her name?
Is it Diane Abbott?
Yes.
Who is actually Robert De Niro's wife in real life.
Oh. There we go.
For a period of time, anyway.
Yeah, I bet he's been through a few now, the absolute dog.
He was with her.
I think Zazie Beetz and that character is more of the simile of Diane Abbott's character in King of Comedy. Because she awkwardly goes along with him and he's the one that she's trying to call, but she ultimately knows he's a bit weird and sort of pulls back from him. In King of Comedy, she's very disappointed, and she's devastated when he basically convinces her to go to... Yeah, and she's like, oh, I can't believe it, I knew you were crazy, sort of thing, you know. So I think there's that not there.
Fair point.
She's still drawn to him, though. That's what I find interesting. Like, even though she's like, oh, that guy, but then she knows there's something about him that he will do something, and he does.
This is where Pupkin is such a great character.
The Masha character is terrifying. I think she's more terrifying than the Pupkin character in King of Comedy.
Oh, she's
quite funny as well.
In King of Comedy,
yeah. Running down the street in her underwear.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
She's fantastic.
Lee Gill for Gary. We've already talked about his great sort of panicking performance during the initial murder.
So, friend of the pod, Johnny, has been drinking with Lee Gill.
Really?
Wow. Because he... Yeah, so Lee Gill turned up he had some connection to the stag, on a stag do, where Johnny was on. So he sent me...
God, they didn't
mentioned
toss him,
this.
Did they?
No. He mentioned this and then sent me a picture of the big group the other day, and sure enough, there's Lee Gill in the front row as they all get on. So there you go. How's that? How's that for a link up?
So by connection, Lee Gill, friend of the pod.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fan of the pod, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Brilliant in Folie à Deux, by the way. Like, I think he gets a bit more time to shine there. But yeah, he's great. I wouldn't recast him at all.
Any others that are worth talking about?
Well, there's the mother, isn't there? She's
Frances Conroy.
She's got a little bit to do. She's fine. Again, I'd sort of echo my sentiment on all the supporting cast, and that's not a reflection of the actors.
I wonder if Thomas Wayne could have been recast a little bit. I don't know.
What did you make of the Thomas Wayne? Because
it's distracting.
Yeah,
it was a bit like...
Distracting's a good. Yeah, that is a good word.
Completely agree, and this ties back into my thing of he's not interested in making an origin. It's a bit like in Folie à Deux when he doesn't fully show the Two-Face. It's sort of blurred and out of focus. He's not really interested in doing any of this for my money. And I think you're quite right. Distracting, great word for the Wayne arc in this film. It's like, okay.
If I have to see those pearls fall off...
I remember watching it, I was just like, really? Did they? Okay, fine.
How many times have we seen those pearls go flying?
Lovely, that and Uncle Ben, isn't it? It's like...
Yeah. Thing is, a total side note, my first introduction to Batman in terms of the origin story was Tim Burton. So I always took it on Joker killed his parents when he was younger. And then I read up when I was older. Oh, no, that was a bit of a controversial angle. That's not the way
canon, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah. But so then obviously they don't go that route here. It's distracting. And I wonder if he was just told we need more.
You have to include some elements.
Yeah, we need a bit more Batman
connected.
stuff. Like we need Bruce Wayne in some form here, and it's like, well, do we really like? I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't so interested in that.
No, agreed. Knowing how he reacted to him feeling that audiences misunderstood Joker 1, and then he goes out and makes a $200 million film to say, fuck you, you got it wrong. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that the studio go, you need to include more Batman, you need to include more Thomas Wayne. And he goes, all right, I'm going to make him a cunt. Watch this. Yeah. like it's a fuck you. Like, well, yeah, I'll put you Batman in. Watch this. How do you like this Batman?
All right, well, we'll go to our final section then, the Mashflix and Chill. So this is where we assess how close we have got with this mash. Is it a good fit? And I think based on what we've talked about today, I think we all seem fairly happy with it. But Damon, have you got any thoughts after you've given it now more thought? The two films mixed together, making Joker. Anything that you think it's lacking that needs to be changed?
In my opinion, anyway, Simon, I'm not sure you agree, but I think those two films, Scorsese's films, are superior to. I think there's a lot more going on. I think there's a lot more to unpack in those films. That being said, I think Joker is a very valiant homage to those two movies combined, and obviously that's why I brought it to the table, because I think, like you guys recognised as well, it was clearly a film that was born out of the love of those two films.
It is a great mashup in terms of you almost can't argue with it, because like the plot is pure King of Comedy almost, and a lot of the aesthetic is so textured, and of course he cites them both, but I do think there's a little thing missing.
Oh, go ahead.
Which brings me on to what films do I think might work better. And look, I don't expect to win this argument. I'm not convinced that I fully believe it myself, because Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, as it is such a great mashup, right? But if I was going to like home in on the thing I think's missing in Joker, all right, more to the point, the thing that's in Joker but isn't in King of Comedy and isn't in Taxi Driver, it is our relationship with the protagonist and how we're expected to relate to him. So I think we need a character piece where the protagonist is downtrodden and we root for him, but then it turns out that all, or at least part of his persecution was imagined, and he is a bad person who always done bad things, and then we're supposed to back away from him, right? Mm-hmm. And because Joker is presented all in the first person, all from Arthur's point of view, that makes it different to our Taxi Driver and TKOC. Where else can we get that? I think The Machinist. Seen The Machinist recently?
I've not seen it recently.
The Machinist is a film that is presented all from our protagonist's point of view.
Well, he made reference to it with the weight loss of Christian Bale in the recasting. So.
Well, it also shares some of the dark vibes, right? The Machinist brings us into a protagonist's world, and things go wrong for him, and it seems like everything is conspiring against him, and we're supposed to... The film gives us no reason to ever go against the protagonist. And then it comes to the point at the end of the reveal, and we go, oh, he killed someone, he did a hit and run, he did a bad thing. And we go, oh, okay, right, well then he's not a good guy. And we sort of pull away from him a little bit at that point. And I think that element is in Joker, but it isn't in Taxi Driver, King of Comedy. And like I say, I would take the King of Comedy, so I would go, well, you're King of Comedy and The Machinist. That gets you to Joker. Do I really think that the King of Comedy and The Machinist is a better matchup than King of Comedy and Taxi Driver? Maybe not, because the aesthetics are so nailed down. I don't know, but it's a difference, and I think it's present in The Machinist. So, yeah.
What do you think, Damon?
I won't lie, I've not seen Machinist for about, I want to say 19 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably about the same, yeah.
I just remember weight loss, some weird scenes and some horrible things happening in a factory. So that's about all I can remember.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I struggled with this one because I couldn't think of And I know it's not a perfect answer because you can't always get that perfect mashup. And I think Joker's as near as you would get because of the influence of it. I was thinking, I know this wouldn't do it, but I think there's similarities with Fight Club in terms of the insomnia that clearly Travis is going through, and he's trying to battle his insomnia with driving a taxi, whereas in Fight Club the battle is by trying to cry, and it's a weird, it's a different kind of way. But then I fall down a bit because I'm like, well, I don't know where that leads, to be honest. I think there's an element of Taxi Driver and Fight Club, but the similarities end after a certain point. And I think that's the thing. There's a lot of different parts of it. The thing that's missing in Joker that I think could have been better explored with the mashup is Joker's not funny enough. Now I think that's the choice. I think Todd Phillips made that choice. So I think you've got the plot line of King of Comedy, but I think you've got the dark feel of Taxi Driver in Joker. I think that's why the mashup kind of works. I just think Taxi Driver and King of Comedy together is almost the perfect mashup with Joker. I just think it lacks that. I think some of the parts of King of Comedy are genuinely hilarious. Like we haven't talked about when he drops the cue cards in King of Comedy and Jerry's on the phone and he's he's kidnapped, but he's almost exasperated by his kidnapper.
Turn them the other way. That was
it's just like
he's like turn them around. It's so funny, but it's like even in being kidnapped, he's exasperated. Like he can't even do that right. Like, and I think there's only a few parts in Joker that I find mildly funny. I
think that's the difference, isn't it? Because it's what elements from those make Joker rather than all the elements of the ones feeding in that appear in Joker as well.
Yeah.
And I think Carl's come up with a valiant effort to come up with an alternative of what is clearly a very good fit already. But I agree with what you said. That is the aspect that is missing. But
it doesn't make it a better mashup, though.
At the expense of what you'd be losing if you moved out either one of them.
Yeah, just as a sort of a final thought experiment, what sort of ratio are you giving? How much of Joker is Taxi Driver versus King of Comedy? Is it 50-50? Do you think it's more Taxi Driver than King of Comedy or vice versa?
The immediate number that came into my head was 70-30 towards King of Comedy.
Yeah.
What about you, Damon?
I think I'm about in the middle. Like I said, I think it's a difficult thing to quantify anyway, but I think you've...
Well, it's meaningless, Damon. I mean,
it's meaningless. All of this is meaningless. None of this matters.
It's just fun.
The whole thing's a ruse just to get us to talk about movies. But I genuinely am sitting massively on the fence here, 50-50. But I think you've got, like I said, the plot of King of Comedy to a degree, and I think you've got the overall feel of Taxi Driver. So, like the tone, if that makes sense. So the tone is Taxi Driver, the King of Comedy.
Yeah, and you've picked out more similarities between Travis Bickle and Arthur Fleck than we have as well, to be fair. So I think you're very consistent in your leaning more towards 50-50.
He wants to be Rupert Pupkin, but he's Travis Bickle.
Right.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing. But I don't... It's a fine line.
Yeah, and I think it's confirmed on the Filmily Tree now. I think Taxi Driving... cross with King of Comedy makes Joker. It's locked in. Now, the problem we have is that is standing on its own at the moment. It is not connected to anything else in a tree-like form. So our next exercise is, are we able to come up with some films that feed into Taxi Driver? 2 films that make Taxi Driver, 2 films that make King of Comedy. I'm gonna suggest some, Carl, because I know you've seen some of these, and you guys can comment on these. So, Taxi Driver... Dog Day Afternoon, which I've not seen yet. It's literally, I'm going to watch it. It's on my Sidney Lumet films that I'm watching in a row.
Great film, by the way. Great film.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Or The Conversation for the sort of the going
paranoia.
into sort of madness, paranoia, obsession side of things as well. Or even Serpico, again, another Sidney Lumet that I've just started watching, so I couldn't actually tell you how well it fits at the moment, but that's what I'm doing a bit of research with to see if we can get those in.
Weirdly, I know this isn't what you're doing, but like Dog Day Afternoon, I feel like that's got connective tissue with King of Comedy. Like, because there's kidnapping element going on there that goes very like slapdash. It's not very clean. But in terms of Taxi Driver, haven't seen The Conversation in a while, or Serpico. I think Serpico is quite a police procedural thing, and I don't think the one thing you don't see in Taxi Driver is the kind of the police element, really, not massively. Like,
it would be more the angle of a guy who is, because Travis Bickle sees the world is against what he believes it should be, right? And in Serpico, I think the angle we're going for here is that he's going against the grain, the consensus, and going along.
He's out on his own. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
that'll be the link there.
I have to say, I do like just to hop over to
King of Comedy.
I do like Dog Day Afternoon is feeding into King of Comedy, because Dog Day Afternoon is a fantastic bit when Sonny's gay. When it's revealed Sonny is gay, how suddenly attitude.
Not seen it, Carl. Just so you know. So just before you start.
He means happy.
Yeah. It's just,
he means
what did
joyful.
you think of it? I mean, party prejudice at the door, please.
Aye.
The way that film shifts and the commentary then that it implies is it's not the same area of society that King of Comedy examines, but it's there. There's a social commentary.
The obvious one is, and it's boring, is Mean Streets, because I think that kind of like, you can imagine that world of people existing on the corner around Travis Bickle, and I think that kind of lends into that world. But I think it's probably too easy an answer, that, because it's obviously another Scorsese.
I'm not averse to an easy answer.
Yeah, easy answers are good.
All right, so we've got some that we're not ready to put any of these into the Filmily Tree yet, but we're going to do some research.
Yeah, we got some homework, haven't we?
King of Comedy. Now, what about the sort of the quest for fame aspect of that? So I've just watched Network for the first time last
Network.
night.
Great one, yeah. Thank you, yeah, brilliant.
Oh, that's a hell of a film.
But yeah, I think that's a really good answer. That was the one I was thinking of. I'm sure there must be another. I feel like the wackiness of some of the comedy of, like I said earlier on, like De Niro's character, I'm trying to think of anyone else that he might have been influenced by to have those little awkward little moments where, he sat there at reception awkwardly just looking.
I'll wait.
Yeah, it's genuinely, I want to watch King of Comedy again, because I think I would love to ask people like Ricky Gervais and like Steve Coogan, like, do you like King of Comedy? Because it feels like that's what you were leaning into, a lot of your characters. Yeah. So Impure, the Alan Partridge movie, and
Alpha Papa.
Yeah, because you can imagine him going to go, is that cork? Cork with the sound, actually.
Yeah. He would, yeah. What kind of pens do you use? Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, and you can, and that's what I mean. Like, I could imagine that happening. And there it is in a studio, isn't it? Alpha Papa. There is the whole thing's in the radio studio, like a bit like Network. Impure, I'd go Alpha Papa, but I think that's a bit of a reach, maybe, from my part.
All right, so I don't think we're quite there to lock in any of those, but that's got us a starting point for some more conversation.
Absolutely.
Of this. So yeah, brilliant, excellent. Thank you, Damon. Anyone got any other hybrid suggestions they want to just throw out there randomly there that are just cooking at their brain that we want to put out into the world?
I'm going to throw one out there, only because I think there's a loose connection, and it's in between. So it was made in the 90s. Have you ever seen Bill Murray movie Quick Change?
I have not.
No.
It's about a bank heist, but it's about being dressed as clowns.
Yes, I have. Is one of the giveaways the makeup on the back of the neck?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, I have
and
seen it.
Gina Davis is in it as well. I think Randy Quaid. It's got the feel of that silly comedy of King of Comedy. But again, it's kind of like, I suppose, leaning into Joker, because it goes down some darker places as well to kind of achieve their goals. Again, not quite the same film, but yeah, I think that might be worth a little look.
Okay.
What's the watch list?
Yeah.
Neverending Watchlist.
That is it. Well, brilliant. Damon, thank you so much for joining it. It's been a lot of fun. We have talked at length about Joker and Taxi Driver and TKOC. So thank you so much. Before you go, though, is there anything you would like to promote or tell people about where they can find you, wherever it is that you are?
Yeah, sure. We're on Twitter, X for the kids, whatever you want to call it, at Neverending WL. We're on Bluesky, which is at neverendingwl.bsky.social. We're on Instagram, but that account's a bit dormant at the moment. I need to get that a bit back on track. We're on Facebook. On our podcast, I've got everything on the blurb, and I think one of the most interesting things is we do update the watch list. So if anyone's after some films to watch, we've been adding films. Like I say, we're up to 171 now.
And where's that maintained?
On Letterboxd. Yeah, so I've got a Letterboxd one. I've got an IMDb one, but Letterboxd is just so much more user friendly. Also, I think what's brilliant about Letterboxd is it just kind of helps you put a marker in time and go, I like this film because of X, Y, and Z. Leave it there. You can come back to it sort of 10 years time and go, what? I really loved it. Carl will come back in 10 years and go, I didn't like Joker. What was I thinking?
Yeah. Ironically, at the same time that you come back and go, Carl was right. Joker's right.
So yeah, we're and we've got coming up soon. Like I said, we've got our taxi driver episode, which I'm literally need to edit. I won't be doing it tonight, but I imagine, when does this episode go out?
This is about on the 8th, so it'll probably be out by then.
I think after you've listened to this great episode, hop over to the Neverending Watch, listen to our deep dive on Taxi Driver, and obviously we did a Joker one ages ago as well. We've also, we've got loads coming up. We try and do it every Wednesday. I'm not going to lie, like you guys know, it's time and life gets in the way sometimes, so it's not always Wednesdays and it's not always every week, but we try our best to keep active on the podcast. And yeah, anyone wants to get in touch. And guys, before you sign off as well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me scratch this itch. It's been one of those. It's really helped. I really wanted to watch King of Comedy again, but I wanted to watch it in that kind of triage of these other two movies, and it's been nice to think of it in those terms and actually see how those influences have rubbed off on each other. And it's been a really interesting exercise. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
More than welcome. Yeah. And if your brain does some wandering, if you think of another MASH that comes up and you want to come back on in the future, just let us know. We'll be happy to have you.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, we'll be back next month, 8th of November, with another Mashflix and Chill episode. You can also find all our previous Movie the Needle, Date Night Classic, and monthly retro episodes on our feed. Please do like, follow, and all that stuff on whichever social media channels you doom scroll on. Next week, on the 15th, we will release our classic / date night combo as we headed to the cinema to see a nailed-on classic. Jaws! That's what it is. That's what we saw. Goodbye.